when I launched my company.
To believe, especially now in this day and age.
Oh, it was
how
easy.
You stayed off of social media for so long.
It's easy.
Well, once you never got into it, it's easy.
Yeah, you don't get tied into all that.
But
see, my problem with social media is the amount of negative energy that it brings on you. Like, you can say something positive, or you could be helping somebody out, and somebody's going to chime in with something that has nothing to do with it and flip it and turn it into something it's not.
I have a few of those on my page.
Is that the answer you're going to stick with today? That's your political correct answer?
No.
He's trying to hide. He's trying to hide from some folks. Prior to that, he got a past that he. You know what? I'm staying away from my past. That's what it is.
Prior to that, you got to let bygones be bygones and let the past
We gonna be in headlines. Let's tell the truth.
That's right. Well, man, we all about keep it 100. We gonna keep it 100.
But so keeping it 100, I mean, if you want to go back and look at my social media history when social media started, and I'm talking like Black Planet days and all that.
Woo, MySpace.
MySpace. I never got into that because it was like at that time in my life, it was more about being a professional in sports than it was trying to figure out what's going on social media.
Right.
Now, it didn't even become a job for a professional administrator in sports or period to check out social media until maybe the last 5 to 8 years, where it's been heavy. Like the first thing you do when you get the resume is you mark off everybody that done screwed up grammatically, and then you go to social media and check them out, and then move them along in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And so federally, they'll tell you they don't do that, but they do that.
Oh yeah.
I think also some of your background and everything, some of the stuff that we just used to do in the streets, you get to a point to where you hanging out, you meeting 150 people a day, and we are people persons. I said it right the first time? Yeah, we're people persons. So we love talking to people.
Right. Pickle peppers.
Last thing I want to do is like get on a phone or a computer and just sit there and talk to somebody.
And then the flip side of that is the security aspect.
Yeah, because of the anonymity that's allowed.
All the people that we've been
media.
putting out of clubs, or if somebody got animosity, it's like. So I just never really put myself out there, but I've never really been the person to want to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, when it came to social media, literally, I had a plan to roll out social media, but my face wasn't going to be a part of it. And it's like my kids and my wife and everybody's like, nah, you're the face of the company. You need to be out there. So if you look at my social media, it consists of a lot of where I've been, where I'm going, and typically my family.
Oh, you showing where you been so your wife could track you, huh?
Nah, I'm she been cool enough to be with me long enough to know where I've been. So she been hitching that ride for a long time.
You better check in where you get in.
That's right. But and it's funny because when I tried to create a Facebook page, they shut me down. Literally, I uploaded 40 pictures full of athletes and celebrities, people that I've been with, and I'm in these photos. Man, they sent me an email. So within an hour, they shut down the account. Your account has been locked. It's under review. We'll get back to you in 72 hours. So in 72 hours, I get an email that says, your account has been disabled, and you're not allowed to have a Facebook account because of the following reasons. And it said, bullet number 1, too many pictures with celebrities. Bullet number 2, too many pictures with athletes. So I literally screenshot that and sent it to my wife like, yo, I can't even get on Facebook.
Dang.
So I sent it to her. She's like, oh, it's no problem. Just create a page and we'll, promote through her account. So I'm like, hey, I ain't got nothing to hide. Let's do it.
That's what's up.
So I enjoy it. Social media is fun. I mean, there's some ruthless killers out there, boy. Yeah, and I enjoy that part of it, but I just don't partake in it. Because as soon as you dab in there, they feel like they can come. I'm one of those people, if you're not going to say it to me in my face, don't be.
Well, yeah, it's removed or encourage people who don't have the courage to say what they got to say in front of the face.
Cowards to be bold.
Now I can be bold and say it because there's no ramifications.
Yeah.
That if I say something, ain't nobody swinging on me.
Well, so. and I think like things that have happened in the past, especially like this past weekend, what happened in El Paso, what has happened in Dayton, and shout out to those families and rest in peace and our condolences are with them. But I think incidents like this play collateral damage to government because now all of a sudden everybody's saying it's video games and the internet that is causing this. Okay, well, they were saying that 20 years ago when they were coming out with these video games and these mass killings slowly but surely started to increase. And so at the end of the day, I think whoever owns the narrative around it, because right now you see a bunch of politicians fighting for that narrative. You got Trump, who's actually trying to make a visit here. You have the politicians that represent these districts that are saying that people don't want him there. On top of that, is it genuine? That's their number one thing.
Whether they want him there or not, he has to make the appearances,
right,
because it's a double-edged sword. If he doesn't go, then you got people saying
he didn't go to all the other ones.
Right.
He didn't go to the other ones.
He did. They talked about that today on CNN. He was there, and he went to those locations, and
like literally, these victims are asking for him not to come. They're telling the representatives, like,
especially in El Paso,
yeah,
they don't want to see him in El Paso.
And so, I mean, we're not gonna make this a big political deal, because you still got your current event stuff that we'll get into. But just overall, it's just like, where are we at as a country right now? And the number one problem that I have is, outside of loss of life, is the narrative that's being played when it's a white shooter versus other. And I'm not even going to just say African American or Muslim or Indian or anything. I'm going to just say other, because anytime it's any other race, it's tied into, oh, that's their people, they were born that way, they hate us.
Terrorism.
Mm-hmm. But when it's comes to the Caucasians, it has to do with mental health. Mm-hmm. Just like the crack epidemic. Mm-hmm. When ghettos and the PJs are getting run down with crack, lock them up.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden opioids is hitting the Caucasian, and it's like, oh my God, mental health. We have to get the insurance to really accept little Johnny to come in and go through detox. Well, hold on. Why can't little Johnny go do 20 years like the rest of our people that's doing the time that got caught with those rocks? So, I mean, it's a slippery slope. It's a double-edged sword, but this is America. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, people aren't happy with what they see. And if you're not happy with what you see, then you should want to go out here and be the change that you want to see in this world, and just make sure that you pass it on one by one.
Yeah, I hear that.
That's current events.
Man, that is not current events.
Actually, that is what I wanted to talk about. I mean, because there's a lot of things that you have to look at with regards to exactly what you were just saying when it comes to the white community, and they're saying, oh, we need to send these people to rehab. There's a mental issue when it comes to the gun shootings and all that. It's a mental issue. We need to do this, that, and the other. Something that we have to really consider: who are the three biggest political machines in D.C.? Tobacco, insurance, and the NRA. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that's why, when you saw in the past couple of high school shootings, those are white kids dying, those are white shooters. We haven't had any change. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I don't see change happening because people of color have just died over the last 12 days. In Ohio, you had, I think 6 of the 9 were African American. In El Paso, I think the majority of those killings were El Paso. Hispanic. Yeah. And then the one in...
and he said it in his manifesto.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And then in California, were the ones with the 3, where the little 6-year-old boy died.
Festival?
Yeah.
Those.
And see, the one in El Paso, just to be fair about the facts, they're tying Trump to this because the shooter's manifesto used the language of Hispanics or infestation,
right.
Tying them into the invasion of the border.
Right.
So they've done the same thing with the one who was in California. They've gone back now, and after investigating him, they're saying this is going to be classified as domestic terrorism.
And see, my original statement about collateral damage with the government is, I feel like sometimes the government plans or stages these things to make Congress act. Because when you ask the question about what's going to generate change, the only thing that can generate the change is going to be Congress and the Senate. And in order for them to make that change, you got to put some people in there that's going to be, they'll label us as radical, but you have to be in there brave enough to go in there and go against status quo. Because I see it in even at the local level, a lot of these politicians. Oh man, when they're grassroots, when they're fresh, and they get in there, and it's about the movement, and it's all about my people, and then all of a sudden they come with that $40,000 check. That as a politician, let's just take Dallas City Council. They make $60,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Well, if I come to you with 2 years or 3 years worth of your salary, aren't you going to vote in favor of this ordinance? Aren't you going to make sure your representatives help make sure that this person is acclimated into your community or brought into the community the proper way? So
what you point at though is the problem I don't think it's so much the council person. The problem is that the system is set up that way.
Correct.
So if we don't ever change, it doesn't matter which council person that gets up in there. It's just a recycled person that gets up in there
and just manages the machine.
And it's the same thing. You already got an organization that has money that's kept to keep things under control. And then when they ready to pay some money that's 3 or 4 times than what you currently make, which goes back to the money issue that we have within inside of our community. Mm-hmm. You know, if I didn't, most black politicians that don't have money, that they're gonna be a target. If you have a white politician that comes from money, that's not gonna ever be an issue. Mm-hmm. The issue is, am I going to be tempted to take that money because I don't have as much money that they're...
Well, and then also the perception is that that politician that comes from that background knows.
Right. Oh, they know the rules. Yeah, so the thing is, it doesn't matter what politician from them that gets put in place, because there's policies and policy writers that are writing stuff for 10 years in advance, and they don't care what politician is going to be in play, because they already know that it doesn't matter who gets in there, this bill is going to pass because we've written it this way. Yeah. And they know the system. That they're planning 10, 15, 20 years ahead with these policies and bills that they're ready to get pushed out, and we're just trying to make sure that we don't get caught trying to steal $50,000.
When you get to the point of making legislation and you're dealing with the House and you're dealing with Congress, one thing that people are not very familiar with is that one of the reasons why the NRA is so popular, the NRA has actually ended a lot of political careers.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just by the stances they've taken. The NRA, and a lot of people don't know this, but the NRA creates a chart. And that chart gives you a rating if you're a politician. So if you've got a rating of 100...
Is it based on, like, influence?
It's based on your position of gun laws.
Okay.
So if you've got a rating of 100, then that means, okay, you don't want to have tight restrictions.
You support everything they got.
Exactly. So this gives them a better opportunity for someone saying, okay, who should I get behind as a candidate who's going to allow me to keep my guns?
Right. Well, see, the reason why I point out narrative, bro, is the fact that everybody ties mental illness to the white shooters. We talked about that, right?
Not everybody.
Well, most of them.
Just a politician like Trump. That's what he wants to say. Why? To me personally, and this may upset a couple of people. When Trump got into office, that woke up a sleeping dog within the white nationalist movement and the white supreme movement. That Trump was that sleeping dog in there. He woke them up. If you look at the media and how it's being reported from certain reporters and what type of
and that's what I'm put on to is the narrative. Who's controlling the narrative? Because if you follow the money from these lobbyists, they dump all this money in the story about the Fox executive. If you really look into that, you'll understand that America is really run by who runs these media companies. Because these media companies are influenced by these lobbyists. Hey, man, don't put this commercial on, put this commercial on. And now next thing you know, everybody is following that. And so it really wasn't until the Gulf Storm warmed, Desert Storm, where 24-hour news. Remember the TV used to go off at like 10, 11 o'clock at night? Yeah. At like 10 o'clock, you used to get the message, where your kids at? By midnight, it was like, you couldn't get anything.
National anthem played at the end.
Well, now you got 24-hour news.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are just subtle things that change the culture. And so back to my point is, how can the fact of the statement be made that mental illness is tied into these shooters, and none of these shooters have ever been convicted or found mentally incapable to stand trial?
Well, did you see on Channel 8
Dale Hansen?
No, I saw that. Dale. But they do every morning. They do a fact check or verify type thing. And so what I did appreciate is that they did a verify on mental illness and violence. And so they quoted all of the top researchers that are out there, national researchers, and they showed how those with mental illness are less likely to perform a violent act.
Only 4%,
right?
Because they don't know aggression.
And they're more likely to
have violence portrayed
against them, right? So so I know that that report probably pissed off a lot of people. The fact that they just went through and just showed the facts on that. But there's still a group of individuals that, no matter what is said. Even if you show them the facts, they're not going to care. You know?
Correct, and that's evidence on how Trump's following, regardless of what he does, what he says, they still find him. Some of these comments that I see is just like blatant. Like, I don't care.
I just don't understand how they could call him El Paso mentally, or mentally ill or whatever. Just he drove literally 9 hours. There were so
From
many
Allen,
chances
Texas,
for him to turn around and
Right.
and then for him to post the manifesto on his gear and his political view and his reasoning why and everything. It was perfect.
Like,
it was
like the comedian
radicalism.
Real Earthquake said,
Period.
it ain't about him being mentally ill. He was methodical.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
He planned this out for months.
Yeah. So for them to say it's the video games and everything else but terrorism, it kind of hurts just as a community, because it's like, how do we get help then? Who's going to help us?
But this is America, Sam. So when you go back to the Civil War, when you go back to the Revolutionary War, it's all based on hate and greed.
Right. That's the
Hate and
foundation.
greed. I don't like the people that was here. I'm going to take their land. I'm going to implement a system, and I'm going to make them servants. Now, whether it's slavery physically, being bound and whipped and forced to do labor, or whether it's slavery of an economy to where I know I have to go do this in order to survive. I can't, and that's what entrepreneurs are stuck in.
Right.
There are so many entrepreneurs right now that are sitting at a desk at a 9 to 5 that are scared to leave that 9 to 5 because they have the security of that check every 2 weeks.
Right.
That's the mental slavery that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's being able to break free from that. It's being able to be financially free. We hope that you follow our friend Chris. Chris, we appreciate you coming in, baby. Thank you for coming to the Man Lounge.
No problem, man.
Y'all make sure y'all check him out. He has upcoming events. Check him out. Where can they find you, Chris?
On Instagram, just you can follow me, Fish the Mogul. My nickname is Fish, so everybody can just Fish the Mogul is on there. And then you can go on Facebook and you can type in Wealth and Whiskey Talks or stuff like that, and you'll find it in there. Or you can go to the Dallas Redbirds page, type in Dallas Redbirds, and those events are.
I feel like we just typed in Chris Fish. It's gonna pop up.
Yeah,
this boy is everywhere.
Yeah,